Your career, relationships, and finances depend on this one skill. And here's how to master it starting now. We're going live.
No. We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
My fucking drink just blew up all over me right now. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. What a way to start a show. Anyway. Hey, guys. What's going on? This week went by really fast. There's something wrong with my fridge. It's like too cold. And so this was like half of this is frozen, I think. Anyway, it's bubbling out and it's overflowing. Awesome. So we're going to have a big mess there. This whole show. Awesome. Awesome. Anyway, we have a good show for you guys today. It's Frame Friday, and it's the one day a week where we focus on our mindsets and improve our emotional durability when stuff like this happens. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. Funny thing about doing that is that it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Today, we're going over chapter 6 in AJ's book, The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology, Emotion. If you guys are unfamiliar with AJ's book or the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series, it's a series that RP Thor came up with. Good Lord. Based on his first book, The Essential Skills of a Dominant Masculine Presence. This is the original book. And in that book, Thor came out with the 7 P's, right? The 7 skills of a dominant masculine presence. And, as some of you guys know, RP Thor is battling brain cancer. And so he asked a bunch of us in the space to write books based on those 7 skills. And so I wrote the first one, which was on psychology paradigm. And then Rafe Deantor wrote the second one, which was on power frame identity. And then AJ's book is the third book, and it's on psychology emotion. And so that's what we're going over. That's what we've been going over for the last several weeks. So we're going over chapter 6 today, which is all about emotional durability in decision-making, like when making decisions and being able to be a little more rational and not be so in control of, or have your emotions be so in control of your decisions, right? And the funny thing is that like when it comes to like purchasing things, we almost always buy based on emotion and then justify later with rationalizations. It's kind of a funny thing. But if you can get better control of your emotions, you'll make better decisions. You understand? So that's what we're going to get into today. Guys, if you haven't done so, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. Even when your soda's blowing up on your desk and you don't have anything to wipe it up with. Handy. Guys, drop a comment if you guys are watching live right now. That will help boost us in the algorithm. If you guys are watching on the replay, drop a comment below. And then don't be stingy with those super chats. If you guys tuned in Wednesday, we have a new super chat video for you dirty, filthy, dirty birdies out there. And you guys who tuned in Wednesday know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you guys send a $10 super chat, you get the bouncing blubs video. If you guys send a $20 super chat, you get the shaking booty video. And now for a $30 super chat, you get the real sicko, the real just filthy, you guys are weird video. I think I'm going to make a $5 super chat video. But that's on the to-do list. Anyway. And then guys, I finally got my copies of Get Her to Fuck You Again. Oh shit, we're not at the 8-minute mark. Guys sent super chats. Came out looking pretty nice, man. This cover's pretty slick. Anyway, I got the hardcover edition. I think the paperbacks actually look better than the hardcover edition, but came out looking good. I like it. All right, guys. So the first concept here in chapter 6 of AJ's book is emotional durability as the foundation for decision making. So he argues that emotional durability helps manage stress and maintain clarity under pressure. So this is a good skill to have when nothing's working right. I've had to sort of try to develop this skill in my IT career because that kind of stuff happens all the time. In fact, it just happened last night. I got off of a coaching call at 5 p.m. and then as soon as I get off the call, it's one of my employees pulling me into some drama at work that he can't figure out. And so then I get on this call and I start troubleshooting. I can't figure it out either. It's really stressful. These guys have been held up for a week because of these problems and stuff. And so then I reach out to a senior developer guy that I've been working with for years. And I'm like, man, do you have some time? Do you have some time to look at this with me? And so we ended up figuring it out, but it was like a late night last night, getting pulled into that kind of stuff. It's just being able to like, just calmly look at it and be like, okay, what are we missing here? What's the missing pieces here? Instead of getting like all flustered, right? And I think that's one of the things that my employee who's supposed to be working on this needs to work on. He needs to work on not getting so damn flustered because he gets all up in his head about this stuff, and then he starts yelling at everybody and like blaming them for everything. It's like, bro, just chill out. Like, let's take a step back. Let's look at this, instead of freaking out about every little thing, Anyway, emotional durability. Decisions made in emotional duress often are flawed. Emotional durability ensures rational thinking, right? Basically, if you're just like reacting from emotion, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes, right? But if you could just take a step back, think about it for a second, you'll make better decisions. You understand? And then building emotional durability allows alignment with long-term goals over immediate impulses. Which is good, man. Think about that when it comes to buying crap that you don't need. A lot of us make like impulse buying purchases. And I used to do that. I used to do that a lot before I really got my money in order. If you guys read my first book, I talk about how to get your money in order. And when I first like learned all those concepts, I was like, holy crap, like there's all this stuff in my garage that I've bought over the years that I never touch. They're all just sitting in boxes. And I'm like, man, that all used to be money. It's all because I used to, be really bad at impulse buying. I used to be like, ooh, I want that. And, I'd just buy it. Right. And then I never use it. So now, whenever I get the impulse to buy something, one of the things I try to do is I take a step back and I go, am I actually going to use that? And then I try to imagine myself, 3 months from now, 3 years from now, would I still be using that? Like, what would I use that for? And if I can't picture myself using it in like 3 months or 3 years, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. The next concept here is composure as a key element in decision-making. So maintaining composure fosters objective analysis and thoughtful consideration. Have you ever made decisions like that when you're not composed, when you're like all flustered and all hell's breaking loose? Your decisions aren't that great in those situations, right? And so AJ says that leaders who stay calm under pressure can make decisions in the best interest of their teams. And I think that's true as well. But another thing that's really good about that is if you could stay calm under pressure, your team trusts you more. Like if you're leading people and you can stay calm when all hell's breaking loose, like they tend to calm down, So it's a good trait to have, especially if you're going to lead people. And then he says that composure reduces emotional reactivity, allowing for better conflict resolution. And like, think about that. Like when you're talking to your wife or your girlfriend, that's really where like the Luca model is helpful, right? Because it gets you out of your emotions. It gets you focusing on a mental model to help navigate the conversation in a way where you're not so reactive and you're a little more responsive from a place of rationality, because you're thinking of like, what's the next step? Okay, I've got to understand her. Okay, I got to ask clarifying questions. You know what I mean? Oh man. All right. We've got a bunch of guys in the house here. So Mr. Wrong says, is this going to be a live episode? This is live. As you can see, because I brought your comment up. Monday's episode is going to be live, and then Wednesday next week and Friday next week are going to be pre-recorded. The following Monday and the following Wednesday are going to be pre-recorded. Yeah. And the CW says, morning, Jets. Hey, good morning. And then he says, I'm tired as heck. I didn't even watch last week's Fresh and Fit yet. I've fallen behind. I didn't study. I'm screwed, blued, and tattooed. Okay. Oh, Frame Friday, not Fresh and Fit. Frame Friday. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, good morning, gentlemen. She gets this.
So naughty.
Is. Oh,
I'm going to come.
Well, I am. It's Friday. I get Nurse Chick back tonight. CW says, no, don't. That must be for the $30 super chat thing. Yeah, CW does not. Guys, don't send the $30 for the super chat because CW hates it. He really doesn't like the $30 super chat. And then Kamal says, told my boss I can't attend the meeting because learning how to pick up chicks is more important. Oh, man. All right. Oh, yeah. Frame Friday. Fuck F and F. Yeah. Fair enough, man. Okay, guys. What is it? Follow me on social media. Where is this thing at? Follow me on social media. The links are in the description for that. Get on the email list, list.comeonmanpod.com. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak. It's all about the betatization process. And then if you want to fix the betatization process, get my new book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And then also it's available on Audible too. Let me play a commercial for that. Then we'll get back to the topic at hand today.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
Yes, indeed. You know who Cappy finished it, and he did a review on it last night. He did not. He hated the book. He absolutely actually did it 2 nights ago. He absolutely hated the book. Hated it because I am right, he said. He also didn't like that it was repetitive, which is that seems to be the common complaint with it, that it's too repetitive. I'm sorry. Not sorry. It's repetition is the mother of skill. Okay. If I bang these ideas in your head, it's going to seep into your subconscious and you're going to act on it with habit as opposed to reacting, right? Reacting with bad programming. You're going to react as you should. All right. The next concept here is avoiding impulsive decisions, which I talked about a little bit, like when it comes to like impulse buying. This happens in other areas too, besides just purchasing, right? But impulsive choices also stem from unchecked emotions and lead to regret. Like, man, like you see this all the time when people just like they react by, I see it with my employee when he reacts by like blaming everybody and sort of, he goes after people like attacking them as if they did something on purpose to mess him up. And it's like, they didn't even touch that. Like, why are you blaming that person? Right. I don't know. Delayed gratification is a sign of maturity and emotional control. And that's a problem with our society today. We are an immediate gratification society. You know, like if you want food, you don't even have to get in your car and get dressed now. You can just call it, you just on your app, right? You don't even have to pick up a phone and call. On your app, you just, Uber Eats and have it delivered to your house, So it's really, it's something that we just lack as a society now, just because everything's so convenient. Everything is just right there. And, but if you could train yourself to have a little bit of delayed gratification, you're going to do well, especially when it comes to purchasing like big things, like a car, for instance, right? If you can delay that gratification, you'll stay out of consumer debt by having to get a car loan, right? If you just buy a crappy, $1,000 or $500 clunker that gets you from point A to point B, and then you want a better car, instead of like making car payments to a bank, you just put that money, the same money you would put away for a car payment, and just sock that away for a couple of years. Like you can go buy a car outright, and I would recommend not buying brand new, but because brand new is stupid. Talk about that in my first book too. Taking time to reflect ensures decisions align with values and long-term objectives. That's a recurring theme in AJ's book. Strategic thinking and emotional resilience. So emotional resilience supports the mental clarity needed to evaluate complex situations. We talked about the difference between emotional resilience versus durability like last week, right? And then he says that strategic thinking involves considering all variables and potential outcomes, not just immediate benefits. That's good. But what I would recommend is not going down the rabbit hole of analysis paralysis, right? There's a lot of guys that can't make a decision to save their life because they're trying to consider all variables and potential outcomes instead of just going with their gut on like what direction to go. And you'll find that successful people make decisions relatively quickly. They don't have to do all of that. You know what I mean? And it's actually a sign of a good leader that they can make decisions relatively quickly as well. So yeah, I mean, if there's times where you want to be a little more strategic, but it's not always good. There's some nuance to some of this stuff. Emotional resilience prevents overwhelm when tackling high stakes decisions, which makes sense. Like if it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed in really stressful situations, pretty easy to get super overwhelmed. And it's hard to take a step back and take a breather, and so sometimes it's just good to just be like, you need to take a break, man. You need to take a break, take a step back, collect your thoughts, right? Because you're not going to make good decisions if you're up in your feels, right? Oh man, let's see here. Ray's in the house here. Ray says, morning, CW. On the mend here, as most of us at the shop are sick this week. Oh, I hope you feel better. My daughter just messaged me this week. She came down with the flu. Guys, a lot of the guys in the chat are in my beer club. beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a great group of guys. It's a men's group, men's community. It's on Telegram. If you go to beer.comeonmanpod.com, you can join us there. And man, the guys are in there swapping notes, leveling up in life, holding each other accountable. It's a great group of guys. They're having a impromptu extra meetup next week. Next week, I think on Wednesday or Thursday. Brother Omega is going to be hosting it. And so there's going to be a group call next week. So if you guys want to join the call, I recommend joining now. Join the free trial. Go check out what the group's like. If you like it, stay in the group. If you don't like it, cancel before you get charged. No harm, no foul. It's not for everybody, but a lot of guys are getting value out of it. There's over 50 guys in there, and they're chatting in there every day. And the one of the guys in there, like I've been talking about it lately, he's just been going hard in the dating circuit, so, and I'm in there too. I'm in there offering advice. So it's only $10 a month. You basically get really, really, inexpensive coaching out of me when I have time in there, but I'm in there a lot. I'm in there pretty much on a daily basis. Speaking of coaching, if you guys are having problems with a dead bedroom situation, your wife hasn't banged you in months or years, like that's not normal. It's not normal. And I know, deep down it's not normal, even though she says, no, honey, it's normal to, have stop having sex over time. She's gaslighting you, bro. It's not normal. If you guys divorce today, miraculously, her libido will be like through the roof and she'll be out banging every guy in town. Okay. So it's not about it being normal over time. All right. It's that the attraction's fading. Okay. You can get that back and I can help you with that. Book a free call by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right, the next concept here is emotional biases and their impact on judgment. By the way, let me see here. Skills of a masculine presence. If you guys haven't gotten AJ's book yet, let me drop a link to that here as well, because that's what we're going over. We're going over chapter 6 in his book. If you guys haven't gotten it, definitely get it there. If you do a search for essential skills of a masculine presence on Amazon, you'll find all the books that are available. And then Thor wants me to help him format his the latest book in the series, which is on the hero inside, which Thor just hasn't been feeling well enough to work with me on that. But I need to work with him and get his input so that we can knock that out. So as soon as he's feeling a little bit better, he just had surgery a couple of weeks ago. We can get the next book out. So yeah, the next concept here is emotional biases and their impact on judgment. So there's this thing called confirmation bias, and it skews decisions by favoring information that supports pre-existing beliefs. How often do you see this in politics? How often do you see this in politics? How often do you see yourself doing this when it comes to a political thing? I was thinking about it this morning. I don't know why. I was thinking about it this morning. I think it's because I'm going to be hosting Rule Zero tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about President Trump's executive orders. And for some reason, I started thinking about Rule Zero tomorrow. And I started thinking about the executive orders. And then I started thinking about he's got an executive order to implement the External Revenue Service, right? What he calls the External Revenue Service. And it's basically his plan to enact tariffs on other countries. And the idea is that by taxing other countries through tariffs, that we're going to bring in all this revenue. And then I started seeing some videos from like politicians in Canada where they're like local politicians who they manufacture stuff for the US. Because of this, it's going to cost them jobs and stuff. And so they're freaking out about it. And, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but then all of a sudden I started going down this rabbit hole in my mind about NAFTA, right? The North American Free Trade Agreement. And I remember that was a Bill Clinton thing. And I remember being in college in one of my classes. And I remember at the time I was just an ignorant college student that really hadn't studied anything. All I knew was that my parents were Republicans and I was a Republican, and anything the Democrats did was bad, right? So I remember like writing this paper. I remember criticizing the North American Free Trade Agreement, even though I really fundamentally didn't know anything about it, but I was like, it's bad because of blah, blah, blah. And I think I just made up a bunch of stuff. And, but even now I think back on it, I'm like, I can't remember exactly what I said about it, why it was bad, and, and then I also never really tried to look into like what the Democrats thought was good about it, But it's just funny. That's just an example of confirmation bias, right? If for something like that, I would probably go searching for why is this bad because I don't like Democrats, as opposed to go searching for like what are the benefits, what are the supposed benefits of this. I would never look for that because of my confirmation bias. My confirmation bias would have me go down a rabbit hole of like trying to find all the problems with it, as opposed to finding anything that could possibly be a benefit of it. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to get into a political discussion. Mr. Rogg says NAFTA sucks because it's stupid. Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting. Then Erkin says tariffs is thousands of years old, but Trump speaks as if he invented something new. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like, the thing about tariffs, we'll probably get into it on Rule Zero. I hope Cappy can join us tomorrow because he's the economist, but the thing about tariffs is, it sounds good, but the thing is that think about when you go to the store, right? The local government charges stores sales tax based on like how much sales they make, right? Well, what do? Do they just pay that tax? No, they pass it on to the customer. So when you're going to the store and you go to buy goods, you see like a percentage of sales tax added to your receipt at the bottom. So that's what's going to happen to tariffs, right? Like the companies overseas aren't going to be paying these taxes. They're going to add that cost to the goods and you're going to end up paying these tariffs, right? You're going to be paying these taxes. It's a tax on the people. So like, and I'm relatively pro-Trump, but like I try to not have that confirmation bias when I look at that kind of stuff anymore. I try to look at like, what's the good thing here? I'm not just like rah team red, But confirmation bias, it skews our decisions by favoring information that supports a pre-existing bias. So that is a perfect example of that. If you are like team red or team blue, you're going to make a lot of times immediate knee-jerk emotional decisions based on your team. And that's where like identity politics is at play. And they're using that against you, right? So it behooves you to look at things a little more clearly and take your emotions out of it, right? The availability of heuristic can lead to overemphasizing recent events or examples in decision making. Okay, anchoring bias sets unrealistic expectations by focusing too heavily on an initial reference point. So, if you ever think about like an anchor, that's kind of an NLP term, but it's basically like an idea or a trigger planted in your head, that stimulates an emotion, right? The next concept is long-term perspective and decision-making. So emotional durability helps balance short-term emotions with long-term goals, right? So that's where it's handy to be able to step back. Like what I was talking about earlier with my sort of impulse buying that I used to do. And what I do now is I try to look at it from the long term. Like, will I use this in 5 years? Will I use this in 10 years? If the answer is yes, then I'll probably buy it, But it's all about the long term. I'm thinking about it long term. Like, will I use this? Am I going to actually use this? Right. So aligning decisions with overarching objectives prevents chasing temporary gratification. Yeah, which is good. And then long-term perspective ensures better outcomes in career, finances, and relationships. That's, I'm revisiting my books, it's because I never want to be like that bastard Cappy, right? If you ever quote one of Cappy's books, I do this a lot when I'm reading new books and I like what the author has to say. I'll tweet out a quote from that book, right? Give them a shout out. And every time I read a book from Cappy and I put a quote in it and I tag him in it, he goes, "I said that?" I'm like, dude, you wrote this book. You don't remember what you said? But now that I've written 3 books, now that I've written 3 books, I know what he's talking about because I'm like, geez, what did I write in that? Like, I have a general idea of like what I put in there, but I'm like, what exactly did I say about that? So I'm rereading my books, and I'm also a narcissist, so I just love hearing my own voice, Although Thor did the reading for my first book, so I'm going back listening to my first book, and one of the things I talk about in there when it comes in the career chapter is like thinking about what you want your future to look like. What do you want your future to look like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And then work backwards from there, because if you pick a career because someone says, "Oh, you might be good at this," but you don't pick a career based on what you want your life to look like, you're probably going to end up being a pretty unhappy person. Something to think about. Historical leaders exemplifying emotional durability. So AJ does this quite a bit throughout the book. He likes to put, real life people and give examples. So he says like Abraham Lincoln's resilience during the Civil War demonstrates focus on ethical long-term goals. Freeing the slaves, pretty solid goal there. Howard Schultz decisions to prioritize Starbucks values and mission over short-term setbacks. And then Phil Jackson's calm demeanor in managing diverse personalities highlights emotional control. Fair enough. Phil Jackson, he's a coach, right? Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, he's a coach. I thought so. Yeah, coach of the Bulls. Yeah, so he coached Jordan. Yeah, can you imagine coaching someone with an ego like Jordan? That would be crazy. All right, what do we got here? Will I use this crack in 5 years? Erkin says, you always need to be cautious with tariffs. If a retaliation war starts, everybody loses and everything becomes more expensive. Yeah. We'll see how it all shakes out. It'll be really good to have that discussion on Rule Zero tomorrow. And, like we try to stick to intersexual dynamics, on Rule Zero, but every once in a while, getting into stuff like that, sparks a pretty interesting discussion. Let's see here. Financial decisions. Let's see here. So practical application of emotional durability. So career decisions, right? Evaluate opportunities against long-term career goals rather than short-term emotions. That's why what I was talking about in my first book, I talk about, as opposed to long-term career goals, before you can even get to that, you got to figure out what kind of life you want to get to, right? Then figure out what kind of stuff do you enjoy doing? What kind of stuff would you love to do? It's not necessarily like, do your hobbies as a job, but it's more like what kind of career would you be fulfilled in doing, and I did IT for a very long time. I loved it. I love, ones and zeros. I love the OSI model and like how computers talk to each other and all that kind of stuff. And what's funny is like the reason why I got into IT in the first place was because I was lazy and I wanted to surf the internet all day. And so what better way to surf the internet all day and get paid for it than by building the backbone of the internet, right? But once I got into that, then I had to figure out, okay, where do I want my career to go? And I remember early on in my career, I was like, I want to be a technical manager. Like I eventually wanted to get into being a director and working with people and managing people. But I also didn't want my employees to be able to bamboozle me. Right. So I was like, I want to work my way up to that and go through, be a systems engineer and a network engineer and, a security engineer and all that kind of stuff. And so I did all that stuff, working my way up to director. So now when guys come and talk to me, I'm like, you're full of shit, because that's not how it works. I always loved non-technical bosses though. You know what I mean? Like I've had technical bosses who are like, those guys are good because you can go to them and they can help you with your problems. Right. But the problem is a lot of those guys are too in the weeds with you and you're like, let me do my job. Let me figure it out, But the non-technical bosses are great because you can tell them anything and they don't know what the hell you're talking about. Right. You can bamboozle those guys. Workplace conflict. Address disagreements calmly and constructively to resolve issues and build trust. This is one thing. One of my coaching clients, he's applying what I'm teaching him about effective communication styles in business now. Like he goes to his work, and when people come to him, he's like Luca. He's not deering, and he's Lucaing these people. He's like, it's working great. I'm getting so much more accomplished. It's like, yeah, it does work pretty well. Financial decisions. Use logic and criteria to evaluate significant purchases or investments. Sure. Emotional regulation techniques. This is going to be a short episode today, guys, which is fine. Emotional regulation, because I got to clean up this mess of soda here that blew up on me when I started the show. Emotional regulation techniques, right? Mindfulness helps manage acute emotional responses during stressful situations. Deep breathing exercises reduces impulsivity and promotes a clear mind. This is where I talk about, the 3-second rule, which, it really is just pausing before you're thinking about what you're going to say before you say it. The whole idea of the 3-second rule. I got the wording of that from Nuke, from Nuclear Caudillo. But pausing before making decisions provides perspective and prevents rash actions. It works in arguments too. Like if your girl's like pushing your buttons and stuff like that, if you just take a minute and think about what you're going to say instead of just blasting her, just checking a bitch, as they would say on Fresh and Fit, right? The outcome's going to be much better for you. And then the last one here is engaging with supportive communities. So AJ used to be a member of MLD's program. So he says, join groups like MLD's monthly coaching. So he was in the Men's Empowerment Network. He also recommends my beer club, right? Beer club's a good place for this. Connecting with supportive communities can help you with your emotional durability. The Dragons membership, like Thor's Dragons, is another good community to join. All of that stuff is great. They're all great, you know. And then a lot of times, Men of Now is another good one. That one's HUD's group, Men of Now. And oftentimes, because HUD's, Thor, and I were all dragons, and we're all in the dragon ship on Saturdays, we often combine groups. Like, for instance, the Dragons meeting this month, we invited Men of Now and the beer club to all join that group. And we ended up having like Thor's group is good because when they have their monthly meetups, there's usually some kind of discussion, like a specific topic. When we get together in beer club, we just shoot the shit with the boys, right? It's fun, but that's good. But when you join these groups, you have shared experiences, and you're doing it with like-minded individuals. So that offers fresh perspectives on challenges, because a lot of the guys in the group have been through what you're going through right now, you know, so they can talk through that with you and bounce ideas off you. If you go to like your church group, if you're a red pill guy and you go to your church group, all you're going to get is like old world thinking, blue pilled advice that doesn't work, right? So support networks foster consistent application of emotional durability principles in real life. One thing that we were chatting about in beer club last night and this morning was one of the guys who's out there dating. He spent like 3 dates with a chick, and she ended up not putting out, after the third date. And I'm a real big proponent of the 3-date rule, right? If she's not putting out by the third date, you cut her loose. It's not working. Like, there's no genuine desire there, right? And you be the one that ends things. And so he was really up in his he's angry about the situation. He feels like his time was wasted and all this kind of stuff. And we were sort of chatting about it back and forth in the group. And what it came down to was that he had sort of built up this fantasy in his mind of what could be, right? And Christopher Canwell talks about that in Atomic Attraction. I talk about it in my first book, but men have this ability to mentally time travel, right? They call it chronesthesia, where we basically mentally time travel into the future and start thinking about, you know, like without even meeting a chick. Like, guys are doing this while they're in the texting phase of, you know, trying to get a chick on a date. They're just chatting back and forth with a chick on a dating app. They're mentally time traveling to a future where they're in a house with this girl, and there's a white picket fence, and, you know, they're making love to this chick every day, and they have 2.5 kids and a dog and a cat. And they're thinking about this amazing future with this girl that they've never even met in person, right? Like, so guys build up this fantasy in their head, and then when they go out on a date and it doesn't work out, they're just emotionally crushed by it, right? So the cure for that is to have a total detachment, right? Let go of that attachment to outcome and just enjoy the process, right? So you've got to look at it like a science experiment, and your only job is to facilitate fun and fuck. Okay. If the fucking doesn't happen, well, at least you facilitated some fun for yourself. So you got to look at like the time and the money you're spending as entertainment for you. That's your entertainment that you're paying for. And she's just along for the ride. That's why you try to keep initial dates low investment at first, so you're not spending too much money, right? But you're going out for your own enjoyment, and you're going out just to see what works and what doesn't. That's where the science experiment stuff comes in. But when you do that, you're letting go of all that attachment. You don't have to get so, you know, emotionally involved in the process, right? That's where sort of emotional durability comes in to the dating world. You dig? You dig. All right. Mr. Wrong said, when I said this is going to be a short episode, he goes, no, go long, Q&A. Mr. Wrong likes, 3-hour long fucking podcast episodes. Like, nah, dude, I got too much to do in my life, and people have short attention spans. Not everyone has long attention spans like you, Mr. Wrong. Although I'll tell you this, I typically don't listen to long podcasts, and, God bless Rollo. He does like 3 to 5 hour live streams all the time. I might tune in for a little bit of that, but I can't tune in for all of it, right? And typically, like the Joe Rogan experience, I can't listen to a whole Joe Rogan episode most of the time. I much prefer like little clips and stuff of his show. But Jesus Christ, Mel Gibson was just on, so I've been like just like going in and watching like 30 minutes of it or an hour of it like every day this week, just to hear Mel Gibson talk. Man, I can't believe that guy is like almost 7 years old. And he is out there, dude. He is mentally out there, but just his stories are fascinating, man. His stories are absolutely fascinating. I'm like, I can't turn this off. And I love Mel Gibson. Like, love that man. Anyway. All right, guys, that's all I got. So get AJ's book. If you haven't gotten it already, and you do want to work on your emotional durability, which I highly recommend, get The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology, Emotion. It's available on Amazon right now. And then while you're on Amazon, get my book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, which Cappy says this book delivers on its promise. Like what it's trying to do, this is what you need. This is your handbook for getting your wife to fuck you again. So definitely get those books. All right. Tell him to make an audiobook already. Thor's supposed to be working on the audiobook. When I talked to AJ about doing it himself, he's like, nah, man, my voice isn't made for audiobooks, which I thought too. That's one of the reasons why I had Thor do my first book. But then I found with my second book that doing the audio myself actually is not as hard as I thought it was. And, people tune into my voice every week anyway. So I'm like, all right, I guess maybe I do have a voice for audiobooks. Plus, I guess people just sort of like listening to the author read their own stuff, because you put the right inflections in the right points. And that's why, like, when I'm listening to Thor read my book, he did a good job, but it's like he doesn't put the inflections where I would put the inflections. I'm like, oh, I didn't say it that way. I said it differently in my head when I wrote that. Anyway, guys, tune into Rule Zero tomorrow. I'm hosting that one. I mentioned it earlier, but we're going to be talking about Trump's executive orders, man. And he signed a lot this week. I doubt we'll have a chance to get through them all because there were a ton, but we're going to try to get through them and just, try to keep it less political. We're going to try to keep it really even keeled, or I'm going to try to keep it even keeled. We'll see what happens. Like whenever you talk about politics, like it just devolves in the comments. So, that's sort of my what I was trying to do with the thumbnail for it, which after this, just stay tuned. Like it'll redirect to that and you'll see what the thumbnail is. Pretty funny. Whether you like it, like Trump, or hate him, definitely tune in, right? Tune into Dragon Ship after that. Hudge is hosting. He's going to be talking about how it's always men's fault, right? We're always blamed for everything. And I think the springboard to that topic is how Kamala Harris is blaming her husband for her loss in the presidency. So we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff too, right? And then tune in on Monday. This is going to be a good one. I found a couple of interesting Red Pill Archive articles, plus an old essay that Rollo wrote. They're all about attachment styles and the red pill, right? Because it's really fascinating if you put it all together. Attachment theory really is kind of pointless to focus on, right? All you got to do is focus on your SMB, because if you have a higher SMB than she does, right? At least 2 points higher, according to Rollo. If you have a 2-to-1 SMB ratio to her, she's going to actually feel more secure in the relationship because you're her best hypergamous option. You understand? And so that's what we're going to be talking about Monday. I'm going to make the case for that. I tried making a post about it in the Married Red Pill on Reddit, and they didn't like my post, and they banned me for like almost a whole year for it. Fuck those guys. Like the guys in the Married Red Pill on Reddit, the moderators on there, They're just some arrogant pricks, dude. I swear to God, I've had some run-ins with them over the years. Not even on Reddit, because I don't really typically go on Reddit, but like those guys are like, they like smelling their own farts. I swear to God, the admins on the Married Red Pill, they are just so full of themselves. I remember I was in a Discord group, and one of those guys banned me for using the word brother, right? Because I call everybody brother, and he's like, "I'm not your brother. You're in timeout now for like 24 hours." And I'm like, really? Like, this is where you feel like a big man is by being a mod of a fucking nerd Discord server? All right, bro. All right. So yeah, not a big fan of those guys, but tune in Monday. It's going to be a good episode. All right. That's all we got, guys. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even if I'm sailing on a ship on the Chris Jericho cruise, which is what Nurse Chick and I are doing next week. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the comments. I appreciate you guys. If you guys are watching the replay, drop something below. And then no super chats today. None of you guys wanted the $30 creepy super chat video. All right, that's fine. When you guys don't send super chats, I tend to not get demonetized. So, you know, it ends up working out. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list. She's Made You Weak is available for free there. It's an ebook. It's a very short read. It's like, I don't know, 11 pages. You know, it's just all about the betaization process and why attraction erodes over time. If you want to fix that, get the new book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, which is available on Amazon or on Audible. Get in the beer club, join the impromptu meetup that Omega's hosting next week, and get in the community and just, you know, let's swap some notes, you know, let's chat in there. And I'm in there, you know, like hit me up. Like, if you have ever have any questions about my books or coaching or whatever, get in the group. You know, I'm in there like pretty much all the time. And then speaking of one-on-one coaching, I do have it available. If you guys want to work with me directly, go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com to book a free call, and we'll talk about your problem. If I can help you, I'll show you what that looks like. And if I can't, I'll at least point you in the right direction. All right. Other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow on Rule Zero.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.